Hey, thanks for checking this video out. This is a follow-up to the NAR's ruling and settlement, which is not yet finalized. It's still, it's just proposed, so it still needs to be finalized, and I do expect that there will be some other things that attach themselves to this settlement. Now, I want to talk about the past and what is coming in the future and how they differ. So first off, in the past, the way that it has always been was that the listing agent would come in, have a meeting with the seller, and they'd say, okay, here's the total fee. This is what I'm going to keep. This is what I'm going to give out to the buyer's agent's side of things. And if the seller wants to bring that commission downward, chances were that both sides would share in some of the pain, or depending on who the agent is, maybe the buyer's side would get all of the shortage and they would keep exactly what they were looking for on their side. This would have an adverse effect on the ability to sell that house because buyer agents look through the commissions offered on the properties that they are going to show. And if they see something that is super low and they don't have a signed contract with their buyer, and that's not a normal business practice, then chances are that agent is probably not going to show that house. Or they're going to tell their client whatever bad things they can about the house up front in the hopes that they won't want to see it anymore. I can't speak to that, to be honest. I can only speculate. I really never made a habit of looking at the commissions offered. I've been surprised with that, and I've had my clients actually cover the gap in what was being offered by that specific property versus what was offered as a norm. So I've already had clients pay towards my commission, and that was abnormal at that point in time. Short sales then became a big thing, and it became much more normal for clients to start paying agent commissions because the banks were getting to really far in this process and then going, oh, yeah, by the way, yeah, we're going to slash what we were going to pay, what these contracts say that the agents are getting paid. We're just going to overrule that, and you guys are going to have to take what you get. So there would be backup agreements in place in case that happened, because it always would happen. So this isn't all new. There are buyer agreements that have been in place for many years. I've been in the business for 19 years, so I don't think there was a real buyer's agreement in place in the transactions that I'm speaking to, that I've been involved in. But nowadays, there are buyer agency agreements, and I am utilizing those. And this is, again, what we expect to see coming when this ruling does come into play. So the sellers are not going to have to offer any commission. And the conversations now are going to turn to, okay, hey seller, we're not offering a buyer agent commission, but we have to have a discussion about this, because depending on what your market is, what your list price is, who your target buyers are, we may be very wise or we may be very foolish to offer the buyer agent some sort of commission, which is, it's not offered to the buyer agent, it's offered to the buyer. The buyer side, seller would be wise or foolish to consider offering maybe 2.5% out to any buyer who brings an acceptable offer. So that's built in just like a concession when back in 2008, 2013, the market was really soft, really, really full of listings, and buyers were getting seller concessions left and right. They were getting their closing costs paid for, they were getting points bought down, and they've started to creep back into the industry right now with rates being higher than recent times, and buyers getting credits for that. Or, of course, we can always negotiate credits after home inspections if there are repairs that the buyer didn't expect and now it's to take on. So seller credits are no new thing at all. Lenders have different percentage rate caps on what you can get back based on how much you're putting down on your property. So that's another thing that we expect may be coming into review and get changed, so that, again, we have room for everything. So ultimately, It's just jockeying around how the commissions are getting paid out. It's now going to be through a seller concession. In those instances where I say, hey, you'd be foolish to offer it, because let's say we're in a really strong price range where there's no listings that are coming up in this area, and the people who are moving in have money to burn. So you still could see a contract come across where they are asking the seller for concessions. That's totally possible. Okay, so this is a variable that the sellers get to take into consideration and make a decision on. They're going to lean on their agents for that advice, and we will be able to give them that advice. We are going to be reviewing all sorts of contracts. We're going to see what the offers are coming in at. We'll know in which areas it's predominantly buyers that need the seller concessions for any deals to get closed. We're going to see what happens to the time on market for the sellers who don't offer any sort of concessions. We're going to see how much does that hurt them. And again, for buyers, the contracts are going to become commonplace. This isn't going to be something where you call an agent and you say, oh, I just saw this house online and it looks really good and I'd like to go see it today. And the agent goes, well, you're pre-approved? And they're like, no, but I'll just call the next agent if you don't show it to me. Okay, well, all right, I'll be there at 4. That's not going to happen. That can happen, but there's going to need to be a piece of paperwork signed ahead of time, and that buyer is going to have the understanding that, okay, if I want to buy this house, this agent is going to have some commission to be paid. So, does that drive buyers to the listing agents? Maybe, but are the listing agents going to go and show the property without getting anything for it? I don't think so. So again, I mean, it's to each their own. This is going to be a free market, and people are going to set their rates. So it's something that will remain to be seen. Obviously, changes can come into play, and we expect them to, because nothing is final. But just wanted to dig into a little bit more of how things used to be and what you can expect coming up. Stay tuned. I've got more details I'm going to discuss about other nooks and crannies of this business.